Coming up today on Speedway Line Report Radio, presented to you by Shaler Acura of Manchester, Connecticut. Our three guests include, from the NASCAR Southern Whelen Modified Tour, Spencer Davis. From the Legend Series, he's got 12 victories already in 2014, and he's looking for more, Mike Christopher Jr. And later on in the show, we're going to talk to Rob Fuller from LFR Chassis. What is that all about? We're going to find out on this edition of Speedway Line Report Radio. The number that you need to call tonight, 203-757-1320. Today is July 14th, 2014, and Speedway Line Report Radio is coming your way next.
Gentlemen, start your engine.
The green flag is in the air, and it's time for the Speedway Line Report, presented by Shaler Acura of Manchester. Broadcasting from our WATR studios in Waterbury, Connecticut, and streaming live around the world, it's 90 minutes of auto racing news. Now, here's your host.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Speedway Line Report Radio. Gary Danko right alongside my co-host, Rocket Rick Rotundo from R&R Fabrication. Ricky is also the crew chief on Eric Burns, North End Auto Parts, number 66, that competes over at the Stafford Motor Speedway on Friday nights. He's also working with Timmy Salamino on the Volante Modified Racing Series in a limited schedule for the 2014 season. We're streaming online at WATR.com, and you can also catch us by going to SpeedwayLineReport.com, where all of our shows are archived. Yes, today is July the 14th, and Ricky, we're set for another show.
Yep, ready to go.
And a lot of action over at Stafford Motor Speedway on Friday evening when it was all said and done in the SK Modified division. It was Ryan Preece, but a lot went on in that SK Modified.
Yeah, it was definitely a crazy last bit of that modified race, that extra 2 laps. You say, well, what's the difference, 40 laps or 42 laps? Well, that was a huge difference in this particular race. I mean, the guy that was running fifth most of the night ends up winning it, and, you know, there was guys in the back and everything else, and, I mean, that's like Eric, we had a broken spark plug, so we were just all the way in the back, never even trying to contend anywhere or nothing until they went to green-white checkers. Now we knew we had to at least try to stay with the field, and all of a sudden we ended up with a top 10. I mean, we ended up 8th, which was way better than what we were running all night. And Teddy, one of them restarts, he was 9th, and he ends up 2nd. I mean, it was just amazing how all things went into play on that deal there. It was definitely crazy, but the main person that got the big props from that night was Robert Baggett.
Yes, he did. He had the action, of course, the YouTube guy, Robert Baggett, who's here in our Waterbury studio, doing a great job for us here at Speedway Line Report Radio. That's right. He captured the action. Just check it out by going to the YouTube guy and check out the SK Modified race.
Yep. If anybody was wondering exactly what happened with the crash, he got it right on film, so you could see everything right there. So that put it to bed right there, what happened.
So we'll let you be the judge of what happened in the SK Modified Division race on Friday night. Once again, it was Ryan Preece that picked up the victory. Of course, my brother and I, we made the trip to New Hampshire up there on Saturday for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour event. Of course, we're going to hear from the top 3 in just a couple of minutes. We'll get the sound bites from New Hampshire on Saturday. Once again, Spencer Davis, he was a part of that race. He would start 11th. The outcome for Spencer Davis was not that great. He was the first caution of the day. We'll talk to him about that and much more. Mike Christopher Jr. scheduled to join us a little bit later on by phone. Let me tell you, he is racking up the victories in the Legend Series doing a great job. Some things down the pike from Mike Christopher Jr. We'll talk to him about that. And later on, Rob Fuller from LFR Chassis, Ricky, will join us. Of course, that's a chassis Todd Zegedy drove up at New Hampshire Motor Speedway this past Saturday. Let me tell you, that car was a rocket ship. And if they didn't have trouble toward the end of the race there, they had some mechanical problems with the car. I think that car definitely would have been in the top three, no question about it.
Yeah, I was only able to see it on the computer because it wasn't televised and I couldn't make it up there. And you kept seeing Todd Zegedy back to the front. Todd, and you knew it was the new chassis and everything else. So I mean, that's saying what they got there, and that's a great product because Loudon is the biggest track we go to, and that's where you got to be dead on to be able to win up there, and their car was running.
No question about it. Speedway Line Report Radio is also being brought to you by Embroidery Works, J.M. Montesano Auto Body, Jim's Lawn Care Service, and the Grotto Restaurant.
And your car, your choice, the Auto Body Association of Connecticut.
We'll take our first commercial break, and when we come back, Spencer Davis scheduled to join us.
To Shaler Acura and test drive the all-new redesigned RDX Sport Utility. Built for the size of your life, the all-new RDX reflects a new kind of luxury that values the resourceful, an engine that's powerful yet efficient, technology that optimizes your time, a design that puts excellence ahead of excess. Come to Shaler Acura today and test drive this exciting all-new SUV.
Make sure you leave the microphone on. Is the tape rolling?
Shaler Acura.
Is the tape rolling, Tommy?
Yeah, it's running.
Off I-84.
Nowhere else but Shaler Acura in Manchester will you find the area's best selection of quality pre-owned certified Acura automobiles. These Acuras are like new and a great way to enjoy the Acura ownership experience. Whether the sporty TSX RDX or a gorgeous TL, MDX, or RL, every certified pre-owned Acura comes with a 7-year or 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Check out the complete inventory at ShalerAcura.com or visit them at 345 Center Street, Manchester.
For the point race on Saturday?
Nowhere else will you find buying a pre-owned Acura easier than at Shaler Acura.
Everybody said they only
Opinions
had 25.
expressed on the Speedway Line Report do not necessarily reflect those of WATR management and staff, or the management and staff of the SpeedwayLineReport.com or VintageModifieds.com.
Welcome back to the Speedway Line Report, presented to you by Shaler Acura of Manchester, Connecticut.
Your car, your choice, the Auto Body Association of Connecticut.
Welcome back, everyone. Gary Danko right alongside Rocket Rick Rotundo. The phone number that you need tonight, 203-757-1320. Ricky, on Friday afternoon, the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, they were in action for the Whelen All-Star Shootout. When it was all said and done, it was Ryan Newman, Justin Bonsignor, Mike Stefanik, Ron Silk, and Bobby Santos to round out the top five. Now, when I saw Justin Bonsignor's, he finished second. Great job by Justin and his crew. But remember last week when he was on Speedway Line Report Radio, I thought he told us he was not going to be a part of that race because they only had the one car, and I'm pretty sure he told us he wasn't going to be a part of that.
I believe that's exactly what he said, but you're at the racetrack, everything's going good, and it's one of them things. How many times have you heard people say, "Oh, I'm just going to bring my car there"? And
right, that was on Monday a week ago when he told us that. And of course, things change during the week. I'm glad that he was able to be a part of the Whelen All-Star Shootout event, which was run on Friday. Once again, Ryan Newman in for the victory. Bonsignor second, Stefanik, Silk, Bobby Santos, Ryan Priest, Chuck Hosfeld, Todd Zegedy, Ted Christopher, and J.R. Bertuccio would round out the top 10.
I'm sure there's somebody, one of the other guys that had two cars or something, they all talked, and I'm sure he had a ride if something happened to his car on Friday. That was his biggest concern. So I'm sure something got worked out in the mix of all that deal.
You know who I felt really bad for this past weekend was Donnie Leah. Donnie Leah got into a wreck on Friday afternoon in that All-Star race. Gary Putnam, Kevin Bono Mannion, nice enough to let them use their backup car. And, of course, they had to put their seat in the car. And they had some work to do to get it ready for Saturday. And then, unfortunately, on Saturday afternoon in the point race for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, Donnie Leah hit a ton. Glad that he's okay, but not so much for the car.
No, and that reminds me that's sometimes how Donnie Leah's luck is. I remember at Bristol a few years ago, the same thing happened to him there with the 4 car. He was in time trial and he wrecked the car in time trial, and they used Mike Smiglio's backup car, and then they ended up wrecking that one. And it becomes a thing where sometimes it's almost better to cut your losses.
Right. No, I hear you.
It's a tough thing, like we talk about. When you're a racer, you want to race. You can talk about, oh, this is the smart thing. You know the smart thing to do. That doesn't mean you do it.
Right. Well, it was a great weekend for the modifieds. They put on a great show on Saturday afternoon, and we're going to talk about that with Spencer Davis coming up in just a little bit. But when the checkered flag flew on the event Saturday for the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour, it was Bobby Santos in for the victory. Second was Doug Colby, good strong run for him, and Teddy Christopher was third. Let's take you into the media center, and here's the way it sounded after everything went on the racetrack. You'll hear from the top 3. You'll hear from Ted Christopher third, Doug Colby second, and Bobby Santos, your winner.
We're joined now by our second and third place finishers. First and third place, driver of the number 13 J&R Precast Cape Cod Aggregate Chevrolet, Ted Christopher. Ted, looked like you were on your way to your 6th NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour win here at New Hampshire. Tell us about those last few laps.
Yeah, it's like, unfortunately for a green-white checkered, you can think about all the scenarios in the world that you want to do, but obviously I picked the wrong one on that one. But it was a good run. I was happy for the, that was one of our cars that we put together out of our stable. It was actually probably one of the cars that ran here years and years ago, old Mystique car that we redid, and first time I ever ran with a spec motor, and I was pretty happy with it. Definitely something to build on.
Excellent. Our second place finisher, driver of the number 2 Dunleavy's Repair Hex Performance Chevrolet, Doug Colby. Doug, looked like you were going to have your second win of the season there for a minute. Tell us from your seat how those last few laps went.
I really don't know. It's a blur right now. I think I was 9th and 7th with 10 to go or something like that, and then the way the restarts shook out, ended up getting a couple good runs, and then I see myself 4th on a green-white checker, and I was kind of hoping Ted would have taken the top, and I could have pushed him into the lead and then had a nice setup for the last lap, kind of like Bobby had. And when Ted took the bottom, I knew Bobby was content to let him slide up in front of him so he could be second on the last lap. So it definitely broke my momentum a little bit, and I had to race with the 7. And, of course, Ryan always runs all of us clean, especially the last couple laps. And I didn't know what the hell was going on the last lap. I seen Ted down on the grass, and Bobby was taking the outside, and I figured Ted was going to, door slam Bobby, and I tried to push Bobby out there as far as I could so that he couldn't do what he did, and ended up doing that crossover. And I'll tell you, it was close coming off of turn 4. I mean, we were about an inch apart, and Bobby tried to split the 2 of us in one move either way, and could have turned somebody in front of the whole field. So I'm happy with second. I'm happy the car's in one piece, and happy that the fans got a good show.
Excellent. Questions for these 2 drivers, gentlemen? Yes, ma'am.
Polly Reed from the Chrome Horn. Hey, Doug, you've had some good runs up here, but it looked like you were kind of struggling a little bit. Did you guys make some changes?
Yeah, this is a brand new car and a brand new engine, and we've run that other car since Daytona. And I don't want to say we struggled with it. We were happy with it. But then, when we were drafting early on, we had a few changes we wanted to make. We actually had a right front shock that was leaking oil before the start of the race, and we were almost going to pull down pit road to change it. And they told us it would be a 2-lap penalty, and we wouldn't get 1 lap. So the first 50 laps we ran with a shock that wasn't performing how we thought it would. So we made our changes at the break based on that, and I think we over-adjusted. We ended up a little bit tight for the second part of the race, and I'll tell you what, the green-white checkers helped me out because it was just a quick little sprint there. So if it was a longer run, I would have been in trouble.
One more for Teddy. Teddy, you were so close to the win, putting on a show, especially with you and Ryan going at it. It was looking like a Friday night shootout.
It seems like it's been that way for the last 3 weeks for me between Stafford and Riverhead and now here. So as long as I put a good show on, I don't care.
It was a show. Is there anything you would have done different on that last attempt?
Yeah, but if I told you, I'd have to kill you.
Was fuel an issue for you guys at all?
No, I mean I had a spec motor and those things used you a little bit, but no, we put a bunch in it for at the halfway break, so we were good.
Okay, so we're going to hear from Bobby Santos. Hopefully we'll hear from Bobby in our soundbite there. You're listening to the Speedway Line Report Radio on WATR 1320 AM.
We're joined now by our
going
race
to
winner,
WATR.
Racing ImperialCars.com Chevrolet, Mr. Bobby Santos. Bobby, this is your tour-leading third win of the season, but it is your first win here at New Hampshire in your 16 career starts here. Tell us about the race. There were a couple of lead changes, I think, in the last few laps.
Yeah, well, our race didn't start out spectacular. We qualified 7th. We fell back to 14th at the halfway part, but guys gave me what I needed for the second half of the race. They made a couple adjustments, and it couldn't have been better. We drove to the front. We put ourselves in position. Second to last restart was I think we got caught back to third, and then in the last restart I kind of learned a lesson that I needed to get to Teddy's bumper and be in second to the last lap. I knew if I was in second and going down the backstretch, I'd have a shot at it. I kind of put in my mind what Teddy was going to do, and he did what I expected, and it worked out.
Excellent. Questions for Bobby? Right here, sir.
Rich Thompson, Boston Herald. Was it starting to feel like a hex here? And is it kind of getting the monkey off your back to get a win?
I haven't thought of it like that. I mean, I've had good cars here. And I felt like I've had a shot at winning here in the past. We just seemed like we've been good the first part of the race. In the second part of the race, we'd have the car we wanted and something would happen, or we'd miss it the second half of the race. To answer your question, I really, compared to some of them guys, I guess don't have quite as much experience here, but I'm learning. We're just getting better, and it's an honor, and I'm proud to win here.
Yes, ma'am.
Polly Reed from the Chrome Horn. Hey, Bobby, congratulations. You've had a great season so far. You alluded a little bit to what today means. Someone said it means everything to win at Loudon. What does this mean to you and your team?
This is definitely probably my biggest modified win of my career for sure. When I first started driving for Sully, he was talking about coming to Loudon and winning at Loudon. We've won for him at Thompson, we won for him at Stafford, and he still talks about let's win at Loudon. He built the car for this place last year. It got killed on him the very first time out and really discouraged him, but he gave us everything we needed to get it back together, and it's just for this team, and this is just our Super Bowl, and just these guys just work so hard, and this is what this is from whatever happens here on out the rest of the season, we won at Loudon, so it's pretty awesome.
More questions? Bobby, okay, we'll take one from the press box right after this one. Go ahead.
Yeah, Bobby, did you sense Ted was preoccupied down low? Is that where you saw your opening?
When you're leading this race on the last lap, you got to make a decision either on what to do, and you're kind of just guessing. And I kind of knew that the typical move as the leader is you send it in on the bottom and try to protect the initial, slingshot move. And I knew, if he did that to protect the bottom, I knew at some point his car was going to wash up in the middle of the corner. And it did what I expected, and we made our move. But Teddy didn't do anything wrong. He was just, he's the best. He doesn't make very many mistakes, and in my opinion, he didn't make a mistake. He was just, if roles were reversed, he probably would have passed me and beat me.
Okay, we'll go to the press box now.
Yeah, Bobby, this is Rob Blount from Race22.com. You said back at Waterford that you felt like you could only get the job done at Stafford and Thompson. Now that you've won at Waterford and now here, does this have your confidence a lot higher going into every other racetrack on the circuit?
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess the reason why I say that is, we mostly race at Stafford and Thompson. And that's always been my excuse, I guess, on why that's the places where we can win, is because, we race there the most. And, And obviously, there's probably a lot of drivers that have their most wins at Stafford and Thompson. But we had a good car at Waterford last year, and we backed it up again this year, and won there. And we've had a good car here in the past, and we hit it today, and put ourselves in position to have a shot.
More questions from the press box?
No more.
Okay, right here.
Nicholas Teal, YankeeRacer.com. Bobby, can you take us through that last lap, knowing that it's green, white checker, and go for broke sort of on the last lap?
Yeah, well, on the green white checker, Teddy chose the inside. We got the outside. My goal to come out of 1 and 2 was to be locked on his bumper going down the backstretch. And for the white flag lap, my goal is just to still be in second and be in second for the backstretch. Halfway down the backstretch, Teddy pulled down to do what he was supposed to do and protect the bottom. And I just stayed to his right rear, but left enough space where I could cross him up and go under him. And that's it worked out like I planned on the restart, which I was lucky.
Okay, so there you have it. We took you right to the media center, or how it sounded on Saturday afternoon. And once again, Bobby Santos picks up his third win of the season on the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour. Good, as I mentioned before, good strong run. Doug Colby and, of course, Teddy Christopher had a good race car with the spec engine, Ricky. And, of course, that's a former Mystique car that they've reworked, and that car was pretty strong.
Yeah, no, that car was strong, and he crept his way right up back to the points race there. He's third in points now. So he's right there with Bonsignor, Santos, and Kobe. So that's going to be a tight race coming in another couple weeks.
Absolutely. And as you just mentioned, Rick, I mean, Doug Kobe, the point leader, with 246 points. Santos back there with 244. Teddy, 236. Justin Bonsignor with 234. And Ron Silk rounding out the top 5 with 209 points. So still got a lot of handful of races to go here. The next stop for the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour this coming Saturday evening over at the Monadnock Speedway. And then, of course, then they'll move on to Stafford August 8th. Still got Thompson, Bristol, Riverhead, New Hampshire, Stafford, and, of course, they'll end the season at Thompson. So plenty of races to go.
Yeah, there's still a bunch of races left, and it's just going to be the way that the races have been playing out this year, you're just guessing. You see guys leading, and that's like Santos led the last lap. You had other guys dicing it up all race long, and then Santos led that one lap.
Yeah, the important lap.
Yeah, it's crazy how it works out this year.
I actually thought to myself, I thought there was going to be a big wreck coming, to the checkered flag. But everybody got through.
It's one of them things where they said they all wrecked, but they didn't know it. They kept on going forward.
Exactly. So, Bobby Santos, top 44. Strong car. Ronnie Silk was strong, too.
Yeah, Ronnie, like I said, watching the computer, he had a strong car at the beginning. And I don't know if something happened to the car. They said they were jacking it up and going into the left rear. So I don't know exactly what had happened to the car, but it was unfortunate for them guys there. They had a good, strong car.
And, later on in the show, as I mentioned, from LFR chassis, Rob Fuller, he's going to tell us all about the LFR chassis. What are they doing over there? What kind of cars are they building? Of course, we know they're building open-wheel modified race cars, and Todd Zegedy drove a great race on Saturday afternoon. He started back in the third position and would come home 22nd, but the mechanical problems would sideline them. And let me tell you, that car was strong right from the green flag.
Yeah, they said that car was strong all weekend up there, and during the practice and everything else, the car looked really good, really stable car. And I tell you, it was, you kept seeing his name on the computer leading the lap, and we talked about this earlier too. There might have been 35 lead changes, but there was more than that happened that they don't count, because it was during that one lap. There was one lap toward the end there where there was 4 different leaders for the same lap, but yet Teddy led the lap both times.
Right.
He led both laps, but there was 3 different people in between that were actually out in front. It's crazy.
A lot of racing this weekend. The NASCAR K&N Pro Series East was on hand. They ran Friday afternoon. Jesse Little picked up the victory. Eddie McDonald, who was our guest last Monday night, would finish second. And, of course, Eddie also ran in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series event on Sunday afternoon, and I believe he came home back in the 35th place finish, but cars are all in one piece.
Cars in one piece, and first time there, you're with the, lower end of the spectrum team, and you're finishing races, and that's what counts. You got to finish the races to build up the team.
Well, once again, Spencer Davis, who was driving the Hill Enterprise number 79 car this past weekend, was supposed to be a scheduled guest, so something along the lines of has happened with Spencer. Hopefully we can get him on in a future show. And once again, mentioned about Spencer, he had a good start, as he would start in the 11th position, but would finish 28th. Of course, Spencer Davis out of Dawsonville, Georgia, driving the Hill Enterprise 79.
Yeah, it was unfortunate for them guys there to be getting knocked out early during that race there. It's one of the worst things when you get knocked out at the big race. Just like when you're watching Daytona, you're watching your favorite driver, and all of a sudden he gets knocked out at the beginning. That is such a crushing blow to everybody with the team and everything else when you get knocked out of one of them big races early. Because now it's not like it's one of the little tracks where, okay, let's just straighten it out and beat it up and we could, go back and contend a little bit more. You're done. You wreck up, some parts and stuff up there. You lose the aero, you lose everything. Even if your car's running, you didn't go down a lap. If you're beat up, you ain't going to be up front.
Exactly. We'll take a commercial break, and we're going to talk to a driver that's been beating up the competition in the Legend Series over at the Waterford Speed Bowl, Mike Christopher Jr. He'll join us next.
Nowhere else but Shaler Acura in Manchester. Visit Connecticut's first Acura dealer and find out why Shaler Acura is the state's only 14-time Acura Precision Team Dealer of Distinction Award winner. Awarded by Acura for outstanding sales and service. At Shaler, their low-pressure, courteous sales staff.
Try that number again.
Or certified pre-owned
Acura. And if you get them, and just tell them,
because I called during Doug Colby or whatever, the 5-minute one, it still didn't work.
We want to call before he calls Mike.
Now get the
What's
same
that?
award-winning service
Call him
on
before he
any
calls
make
Mike.
or model.
Yes.
Visit their state-of-the-art modern facility today. Just minutes from Hartford. Take
You can keep
60
this
off
rolling.
I-84,
You can say
turn right at the end of the exit.
the host, Gary Danko's not happy.
Or check out their
Well, you can't blame this one.
pre-owned vehicles
No
online.
one's blaming this on you. Everything else I'm going to blame on you today.
Spencer on me.
Huh?
You can't blame Spencer on me.
You're right. Nobody is. Everything else
I
we will.
thought you were.
It started when you weren't here.
The
Wow.
Embroidery Works is
A
a
couple
full-service
minutes after
embroidery
5.
company supplying
Because you're
Central
right at
Connecticut with
5.
custom
Couple
corporate
minutes
apparel
after 5.
and imprinted
Not
items
5:30,
since 1998. Whether it's
later than
embroidery,
that.
screen
But
printing,
why is it?
EMS workwear, team spirit or team clothing, or
Keep
promotional
it rolling.
products, the Embroidery Works has what you're looking for. They offer a wide selection of
So,
brand name clothing like
his cell phone, you couldn't leave a message?
Huh?
Couldn't leave
There's
a
no way to leave a message. Nobody answered at the shop.
Jerseys, Pacific Headwear, and many more. In addition, promotional items such as duffel bags, mugs, pens, letter openers, and magnets.
Or it's all filled
Well,
up.
no, his was just like, I'm sorry, but the person you are calling is not accepting phone calls at this time. Thank you for calling. We'll try again later, and that was it.
I won't say
So there's
anything.
no way to leave a message.
I won't say anything.
Call Embroidery
You know what?
Works
Get
at
Mike Christopher. Then you can worry about calling him afterwards.
860-747-9802.
All right.
That's
Okay.
860-747-9802. Now at 333 East Street in Plainville. That's 333 East Street, Plainville for Embroidery Works. Visit them online at embroideryworksct.com.
Welcome back to the Speedway Line Report, presented to you by Shaler Acura of Manchester, Connecticut.
Your car, your choice, the Auto Body Association of Connecticut.
Ricky, you're going to be off next week. Actually, you're going to North Carolina, but we'll preview next Monday night show. John Jerish, former modified driver, will be my co-host. And here's who we got lined up. Mark Han from Victory Motorsports Marketing had called me about a month ago in regards to promoting some different things. The USAC Dirt Midget Association is coming up with the Elliott Beverage Memorial Race taking place on July 26th at Bear Ridge Speedway in Bradford, Vermont. And what Elliott meant to Frank Manafort and racing. Frank Manafort will be here in our Waterbury studio. Former modified driver Don Moon, who was good friends with Elliott Beverage, and good friends with Frank Manafort, will also be here in our Waterbury studio. And Skip Matzek will be sponsoring the first hour on next Monday night's show. Skip Matzek from Seals is the largest supplier of seals to all NASCAR teams, co-founder of the USAC Dirt Midget Association. We're going to talk about the USAC Dirt Midget Association. Ray Miller, who runs up at Bear Ridge, is also scheduled to join us. Dick Berggren, either by phone or in studio, and Ricky Craven, either by phone or in studio. That's all next Monday night here on Speedway Line Report Radio.
Yeah, it's definitely an all-star cast you got with you.
Yeah, no question about it, and appreciate Skip Matzek coming on as to sponsor that 1 hour next Monday night. So it should be a great show. So the Waterbury studio will certainly be filled up, no question about that. Our next guest, he's all set to go. He has been tearing up the track over at Waterford Speed Bowl. Already 12 victories in the Legend Series. Mike Christopher Jr. now joins us. Mike, how are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. What's been the key to success so far in 2014 in the Legend Series, especially at Waterford Speed Bowl?
Yeah, we've had a really good car this year. It's pretty much all my dad. He puts countless hours into the car, so we get a really good setup each week, and we drive it, and I drive it, and we usually start in the back. We go through, get to the front, and get the win. We're up to 13 now. This past Friday.
What do you like about Waterford Speed Bowl and racing over there?
The racetrack's really good, actually. It's got 2 lanes. You can hop to the outside and go good on the outside there too. It's not just a one-groove racetrack. You can go anywhere around the track. But Waterford's really fun. It's high speed in those Legend cars, which is really cool. And it's just like pretty much off the gas, on the brake, and then right back to the gas. It's really fun to race there. It's too fast. It's my last year there for the Legend cars.
And this is Ricky. One of the things that I find funny is when we're listening to the announcers and stuff at Stafford Speedway and they're talking about you and things like that. And I mean, we all grew up watching, your father racing and Teddy racing and everything else. But since Teddy's racing out there, every time they talk about you, they say, Ted Christopher's nephew. It's never Mike Christopher's son.
Yeah.
Mike Christopher. It's always Ted Christopher's nephew's out there.
Yeah. My dad had to stop racing after I was born, a few years after that. I was in Dixieland with him, but when I was 1 or whatever, but, the kids are just way too much money, I guess, and he had to quit racing, so, my uncle, he's got a really good success, in racing, so, I guess they just go by him because he's still in the racing world, so it's someone good to, put me up to.
And how's the communication with your father when you guys come in for practice and working on your Legends car? I mean, can you communicate to him pretty well of what you're looking for with that race car?
Oh yes, definitely. I could. He pretty much understands the car even without me telling him. He could see the car if it's loose or tight, or if my line's off. He'll tell me anything I need to do, and I'll try and fix it. I'll try my best to fix it, and we usually do, and I tell him if it's loose, tight, in, out, whatever. And he's smart with things. He's learned a lot about him since last year, and he just changed the car, and then we go out there and race, and hopefully we get the win. He's really good with it.
Since you've been in the Legend Series, and this is your second season, correct, Mike?
Yes, it is.
Did your father ever get in that race car at a practice and get in it and take it around the track?
No, he hasn't. He always says he's too old for it, and I don't think he might fit in the seat, but I'm not sure.
So we know about the success over at the Waterford Speed Bowl, 12 victories already, still got a lot of racing left there, and I'm sure a lot of victories are in you in the rest of the season. But what about when you race over at Stafford, and then you raced this past the weekend, I believe, over at Bethel Motorsports Park?
Yes, we did. We went to Bethel for, they're supposed to have this big Legends Pack race, this big Legend race where lots of cars from all over the country come up to Bethel, New York to race, and it's a race for a guitar, and it's a race for national points and a national qualifier. So we went to Bethel this past Saturday to, test there, like a test race, and we finished second there, so that was pretty good. I've only been to the track 2 times, so we got the setup going pretty good there. It's really fun racing there. It's got about a groove and a half, almost like a little less than Waterford, but you can definitely get going on the outside, and that track's really fun. We're thinking of going up there in 2 weeks or so when we don't race on Saturday at Waterford. But Stafford we haven't got the win there yet, but we only raced 3 times. We've been getting closer. We've got a third, a second, and a fourth. So once we get that car going, I think once we get the setup right, and we might get that win, then I think the momentum will carry into more wins and maybe, cap it off with a championship, but you never know.
Sure.
Who are some of the sponsors you have on your car, Mike?
Oh, first I have to thank my dad so much for all he does. He's, like I said, the countless hours he puts into the race car, and he's always at the shop working on it. But my main sponsor is Tick-Free Organic Tick Control by Mike Myhoffer. So he's our main sponsor, so thanks to him for all he does for the race car and contributing what he does. And Mike's Auto and Body Shop, I got to thank them at Plainville. They help us out a lot. And then Sign Pro with Pete Rapocchio. He does all of our stickers and all that. And my Uncle Ted, he helps us out when he can. And FK Rod and Shreko Springs, all that, Green Engineering and all that. So thanks to everybody.
Now, I know your Uncle Ted for a long, long time. We all know the success that he has had. Your father's had a lot of success when he was racing. But since you've been winning, so you got 12 victories, I mean, what does your Uncle Ted, does he pass along any advice to you, or how has he helped you?
Well, usually we race on Wednesdays and he's not there, so whenever we do race on Saturdays, I go down to the pit and we talk about the heat race and everything and how the car's going, and not really advice sharing, but just how the setup is and stuff. But I learned pretty much all my stuff I know from my dad and watching my uncle at Stafford and everything, just, pointers on what to do here, what to do there. And, I mean, my Uncle Ted helps me out some. My dad helps me out a lot. He tells me everything to do. And whenever I do win on Saturdays, my uncle's pretty much the first one on the track to come into victory lane. So he's really excited about me winning.
Now, I know going back earlier in the season, of course, Stafford Motor Speedway running some legends on their Friday night program. And, of course, that's a flat track compared to, or at least where you guys run. I still call it the Manafort Mini Mile or Mini Mile. But tell us about your races there on the Friday night shows.
We've only been there 3 times. We've had rainouts. We've had other divisions go in front of us so that they bump us out. But the 3 races there, it's completely different from Waterford, high speed to down to pretty much dead stop in the center of the turn at Stafford. So it's a different kind of racetrack, different kind of feel. You got to figure the track out better. But we've been trying to get the setup going. I think we'll finally get it right next time we go there, whenever we do. I think it might be this week, but I'm not sure if we're off or not. Like I said, Stafford's completely different from Waterford, and it's a 5th mile, I think, which is even smaller than Bethel, which is really small. So it's a big change going from Waterford to Stafford.
And when you're on that mini mile, how much do you want to just drive right past it and keep on going?
So, yeah, it's a short track, so you got to have your horns up. Lots of beating and banging going on, so you got to have your horns up, like I said. And actually, I do like short track racing. I just got to get better at it. Get more on the wheel and learn how to drive off better and everything. So just wheel it, you know what I mean, so that we could get to the front. But other than that, it's actually a really fun racetrack to go on.
And Michael, I am correct. I mean, you do have 12 victories so far in 2014, correct?
Well, we had 12, and we raced on Friday at Stafford. It was a special show. It was 500 to win by the Belltown Auto. So we did win that. We came back from Stafford on Friday. We drove back to Waterford the same night. We did 2 races, Stafford and Waterford, and we had no practice, no heat race. Started last, which only was about 7th or 8th, I think it was. But yeah, we raced Friday at Waterford and we won there, so that was 13th.
Okay, so yeah, definitely. Okay, Ricky, you were correct, because Ricky's writing down on a piece of paper here. He says, I'm pretty sure he's got 13 wins, and to be honest with you, I forgot about that race that they had that was sponsored by Belltown. So my bad there, but hey, 13 wins so far, so good. And now let's talk about the future for Mike Christopher Jr. I understand that there's another race car over at your uncle's shop, a car that came out of Southington, Connecticut. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we picked up an SK Light from Al Hankey Mohawk Construction. So big thanks to him and the Tommy Baldwin for hooking us up with him and making the deal, going, rolling. So we gotta thank those guys so much for letting us use the car. So yeah, we have an SK Light. It's at Teddy's shop right now. I have to check the shocks and the fuel cell and the carburetors and all that. But once that's all checked and it's legal, we're just gonna bring it out there with my uncle because he has a NASCAR license, and my dad doesn't. So it's just better for my uncle to take it out and see if it's fast. Once it's fast, we'll put me in it, and go for practice. And once that should be about like August, mid-August maybe. And so once we get that going, we'll focus on that more at Stafford instead of the Luzzing car because we can't run 2 races in one night. So whenever I do have the setup good and I'm used to the SK Light, we'll just run the SK Light instead of the Luzzing car. So I'm really pumped for that. So my dad's really pumped about it too. So I gotta thank those guys a lot.
Yeah, and of course, the car that you're referring to, the Al Hankey car, of course, only has, I believe, 2 races on it, and that was run back, I want to say, about a year or 2 ago, and then the car has sat ever since. And I tell you, it's a pretty race car. It's white on white, right, Michael?
Yeah, it's white on white. So we're gonna. It was run, I think, 2 years ago, maybe, but it only 2 or 3 races, and the car was really, really fast in practice, really fast in the feature, but something must have happened, and the car's just been sitting at Mr. Hankey's shop ever since, and we got the deal rolling, and we picked it up, so I can't wait to bring it out there and see how we can do with it.
We're talking with Mike Christopher Jr. He's got 13 victories in the Legend Series over at the Waterford Speed Bowl. Now we're talking about future plans for Michael running an SK Light. And have you got a chance to get in that car at all yet, Michael, at least to sit in that race car?
Yeah, I sat in it when we first got it. My dad picked it up some Thursday, and I sat in it the next week just to see how the seat was and the pedals and everything. But the seat was a little big, so we might have to change that, but we'll keep that for testing and all that, just for time's sake. So, no, I didn't take it out or nothing, just sat in it, and that's about it. We'll just go from there.
And you're starting to sprout to a pretty tall kid, so I'm assuming the pedals were okay for you?
Yeah, the pedals were a little, like a little too close together. Like, when I hit the brake down, I would hit the clutch a little bit. So I have to narrow that a little bit. I have a size 13 foot, and I'm almost 6 feet tall. So, yeah, I'm sprouting up pretty good.
Now, once you eventually get in that SK Light car to race it, has your father already told you? I mean, you got to be here to help me work on the race car. Does he want to teach you all the ins and outs of an open wheel SK modified light car?
Yes, he does. He wants me at the shop whenever I can, even for the Legend car. I've been going for more than I did last year. I've been learning a lot from him. He's been teaching a lot. He's really knowledgeable about the sport. So he's a good guy to be taught by. So he says that in order for me to race the SK Light, I got to be down there working just as much as he is. So yeah, I'm gonna have to change my schedule a little bit for next year. But we only race it on Fridays next year at Stafford. So that'll be easier instead of Wednesday, Saturday, and sometimes Friday at the Speed Bowl like this year. So, yeah, I'm going to have to be down at the shop a lot more than I usually am.
Yeah, it's, learning from Michael and Ted. I mean, that's got to be something there. And like you said, Michael hasn't raced in a while, but he hasn't lost his touch. I mean, look at the time he got into Teddy's car and he won with the thing. I mean,
exactly.
Yep.
It's one of them things where you don't just lose it. And, Michael is very knowledgeable about the sport and what to do with the cars and everything else. So, he just doesn't want you there to work. He wants you there to learn. That's the biggest thing, is the more you can learn, the better you could be.
Yeah, he hasn't lost his game whatsoever. Like you said, he hopped in that car and won back in 2004 or something like that, way back then. But he's still got his game on, so hopefully he'll get into a car sometime soon, and hopefully he'll do good in it.
Now, your Uncle Ted finished second in the SK modified feature event at Friday night. What did you think of the SK race Friday?
I wasn't there actually. I drove back to Waterford right after the race. But I heard it was crazy, green white checkers and everything. He was back behind 10th place with a really loose car, and I guess there was just mayhem up front, and he got to the second and just barely missed it.
And, of course, as I mentioned earlier in the show with Ricky, of course, Teddy with a good third-place finish in the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour event. Had a car, definitely could have won that thing, but you know how New Hampshire Motor Speedway is.
Yeah, and they just put that car together. It was one of the Mystique cars. They just put that thing together, and hopefully it went good. They were good in practice. They were good in qualifying. It's just when you get to the race in New Hampshire, everybody's pretty much the same until the draft comes into play, and it's just whoever you hook up with at the end. You can just draft to a straightaway lead if you could, just, right on each other. But, New Hampshire's like Daytona. You never know how it's going to play out at the end, and he had a really fast car, but, third place is all right. He's up there in the standings, so hopefully this is momentum for him to keep racing because he's really good at it.
Oh, absolutely, no question about it. Well, Michael, thank you for being a part of Speedway Line Report Radio. 13 wins. I know there's a lot more wins down the road for you this season in the Legends Series, and we'll look forward to catching up with you soon.
All right, thank you, guys. Thanks,
You're very welcome. Mike Christopher Jr. joining us tonight on this edition of Speedway Line Report Radio. Good catch there. My bad. 13 wins, picked up a win at Waterford Speed Bowl in that race this past weekend.
Yeah, I hear the little things here and there. That's no big deal. I just figured I'd write it down just so you knew. That's all.
No, that's fine. And but all in all, hey, what a job he's doing in the Legends Series. And we've seen drivers in the past that have come from the Legends and then move up to an open wheel modified. Robbie Summers, Donnie Leah, those names come to mind.
Yeah, and I mean, the kid's got talent. And he's got the right name. I think that, he's going to be one of these up-and-coming young drivers that everybody's going to be starting to talk about real soon. When he gets out in the SK Light, everybody's going to be watching him in that SK Light.
Oh, absolutely.
They want to see what that kid got in that car. There's going to be a lot of pressure on the kid. But, I mean, the kid's good. He really is good.
And from what I've seen so far, I think he can handle the pressure.
Oh, yeah, he's Christopher.
Exactly right.
They're used to it.
No question about it. We'll take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll continue talking auto racing here on Speedway Line Report Radio. We're streaming online at WATR.com. All shows are archived by going to SpeedwayLineReport.com. Unfortunately, our first guest of the evening was a no-show, so hopefully everything is okay with Spencer Davis out of Dawsonville, Georgia, who raced this past weekend on the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour. As we mentioned, Ricky started 11th, but would not come home with a good finish. He was the first caution of the day. Hopefully, in future shows on Speedway Line Report Radio, Spencer Davis will have the time to join us. We'll be back right after this.
Soaked. Because again, my car window wasn't closed. There's nowhere else but I'm having a bad night. You're having a yeah, my night's been shot. Is that tape still rolling? Yeah, it's still yeah, it's still rolling. Yeah. Team Dealer of Distinction Award winner. See, I'm gonna have a wet scene of sales and service. At Shaler, their low pressure makes owning goes with the turn.
Extended service on parts hours Mondays through Thursdays at 8 p.m. and Saturdays until 4 p.m. for your convenience. And now get the same award-winning service on any make or model. Visit their state-of-the-art modern facility today, just minutes from Hartford. Take exit 60 off I-84, turn right at the end of the exit. Go 2 miles on the left, or check out their great selection of new or pre-owned vehicles online at ShalerAcura.com. Or reach them by calling 860-647-7077. Nowhere else but Shaler Acura, Manchester. Nowhere else but Shaler Acura in Manchester. Visit Connecticut's first Acura dealer and find out why Shaler Acura is
I gotta check to see if my car windows are open because I heard thunder. So I don't even know. My car inside my car is probably.
Don't lock yourself out.
Outstanding sales and service. At Shaler, their low-pressure, courteous sales staff makes owning a new or certified pre-owned Acura easy. Plus, Shaler Acura offers extended service and parts hours Monday through Thursday until 8 p.m. and Saturdays until 4 p.m. for your convenience. And now get the same award-winning service on any make or model. Visit their state-of-the-art modern facility today, just minutes from Hartford. Take exit 60 off I-84, turn right at the end of the exit. Go 2 miles on the left, or check out their great selection of new or pre-owned vehicles online at ShalerAcura.com. Or reach them by calling 860-647-7077. Nowhere else but Shaler Acura, Manchester.
Yeah, I got soaked. Because again, my car window wasn't closed.
There's nowhere else
Sorry,
but
I'm having a
Shaler
bad night.
Acura
You're
in
having
Manchester.
Yeah, my night's been shot.
Is
that tape still rolling? Yeah, it's still.
Is the state's only 14-time
Yeah, it's still rolling. Yeah.
Precision Team Dealer of Distinction Award winner.
See, I'm gonna have to let's see that
Outstanding
way.
sales and service. At Shaler,
See?
their low-pressure
Goes with
courteous
the-
sales
punished.
staff makes owning
It goes
a
with
new
the
or
turn.
certified pre-owned Acura easy. Plus, Shaler Acura has extended service on parts hours Mondays through Thursdays at 8 p.m. and Saturdays until 4 p.m. for your convenience. And now get the same award-winning service on any make or model. Visit their state-of-the-art modern facility today, just minutes from Hartford. Take exit 60 off I-84, turn right at the end of the exit. Go 2 miles on the left, or check out their great selection of new or pre-owned vehicles online at ShalerAcura.com. Or reach them by calling 860-647-7077. Nowhere else but Shaler Acura, Manchester.
This is one more like he races.
Yeah, this is true. Jim's Lawn Care Service out of Cheshire, Connecticut. When it comes to maintenance and lawn care, give Jim's Lawn Service a call, 203-272-2054 for Jim's Lawn Care Service out of Cheshire, Connecticut. J.M. Montesano Auto Body Works, proud sponsor here on Speedway Line Report Radio, a specialist in auto collision. All work is guaranteed. They are located at 390 Lombard Street in New Haven, Connecticut. Give them a call if you are in an accident, 203-865-1389 for J.M. Montesano Auto Body Works. Once again, Ricky, they are specialists in auto collision. All work is guaranteed. J.M. Montesano Auto Body, give them a call today. Rick?
Yes.
What's going to go on at the race shop this week for the number 66 SK Modified that Eric Byrne drives?
We just got to tune in the motor. We had a problem with the plugs and some other stuff, so we just have to make sure the motor's 100%. Little things. There's nothing wrong with the major part of the motor, just the little stuff around it, so we just got to go through the plugs, distributor, and make sure everything's 100%, and new front spoiler and radiator, and good to go.
What kind of chassis? Who are the sponsors and what kind of engine?
TA Motors, Troyer Car, 2008, Cos Central Auto, CosCars.com, North End Auto Parts. I think that's about it.
Okay. Victory around the corner for you guys?
We hope. I mean, we were very close toward the beginning of the year. A lot of top fives. But we feel as though we're right there. We're right at the edge. We just need a little something. So, a tweak or a turn. We're just waiting for that.
Okay. We're about 45 seconds away from our national news, and we'll come back and we'll get set for our second guest of the evening, which will be Rob Fuller from LFR Chassis. What is that What is LFR chassis? Well, we're going to find out. I can tell you Todd Zegedy drove one of their chassis this past Saturday on the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. The car was a rocket ship. We'll talk to Rob about that and other things coming up right after national news. I'm Gary Danko, right alongside Rick Rotundo, Tom Graves, Robert Baggett, the YouTube guy, is in the studio. Of course, Tom Graves, the webmaster of SpeedwayLineReport.com. You can also catch this show there as well. And by the way, Robert Baggett, you're doing a great job for us here on Speedway Line Report Radio. I've talked to several people who really like the work that you do, not only here with our radio show, but of course the work that you do over at Stafford. And I know you wanted to get that wreck up that took place between Keith Rocco and Ronnie Williams. I know when I was heading up to New Hampshire Motor Speedway on Saturday with my brother, 4:45 in the morning as I'm waiting for my brother, and I looked and you already had it up there. What time did you get it up there?
Oh, about midnight.
Oh, okay. So that was pretty quick.
Yeah.
So, all right, national news is next.
And Ricky saw that. He probably said, "Hey, YouTube guy, you're right on the stick there." Yeah, it was.
Turned to regular
Kinda like
active
Tom
duty
Graves.
guns as the Army continues its investigation into why he walked away from his
You
post
deserve
in
everything you
Afghanistan
get
in
tonight.
2009.
I know, I'm not putting up a
You know
fight.
what?
I didn't say anything.
Some fellow soldiers
I may give a dirty look now.
You're lucky I didn't call Tom Shoe.
Yeah, I know you did.
Make sure this is rolling. And this will be on you. This
I
will.
know this will.
All right.
Handling of those risky subprime mortgages, Citigroup
Huh?
has agreed to pay $7 billion under a deal.
You never know. You never know.
Let me see what Graves is up to.
No, you never know. You never know what future.
Attorney General Eric Holder saying the bank shattered lives and contributed to the worst financial crisis in decades.
When's the next race
After
for
a
you?
pair of embarrassing defeats
Don't
at
know
the
yet.
World Cup, the manager
No
of
staff?
Brazil's
No.
soccer
I'll
team
give it to
was
my lighter.
declaring a sprint.
Not going?
Most of the tournament was a favorite
I may
to
need to
win.
borrow yours before I
Instead,
leave.
annihilated by Germany in the semifinals and
They're
then
putting a new
by
body on
the
that
Netherlands.
LFR, or
Fox
not
News
LFR.
Radio.
That
They are
Say by the time we start the show, I'm going to be back in.
body on that car.
That's not a problem.
Maybe just an overused buzzword, but the cloud is an effective
doing it?
environment that can
Oh,
save
the one that
business
Mike
time
got.
and money.
Did you already do it?
is no stranger to the cloud.
Yeah, supposed to.
All of our security and storage solutions
supposed to get
connect
the card
to the cloud for continuous updates
Wednesday
and
next
offsite redundancy. Barracuda's cloud also plays host to
Oh,
email
contact.
security, web security,
Oh,
file
oh.
sharing, and
Huh?
e-signing services.
No,
We even offer solutions on Amazon's
Oh, okay.
AWS and Microsoft's Azure public cloud platforms. To try any of our cloud-connected solutions free, visit barracuda.com/cloud. Shaquille O'Neal for Icy Hot Advanced Cream.
I know all about living. It's one of the things where I'm supposed to do it, but I didn't get the car yet, so.
awesome. I see how the
Supposed to.
Well, that would have been a good. That would have.
Yeah, it's one of the things, though. You say you're gonna do something, and then they end up, oh, we ended up having time, we did it.
Bags, knees, even arthritis. Icy to dull the pain and hot to relax it away.
Come on now, advance past pain and get on with living.
Icy Hot Advanced. Available in cream and patch.
Pain over.
Use only as directed.
I didn't get a chance to call that guy, but the guy called.
Primetime hearing on Capitol Hill. An
I
assistant
sat in my shop
inspector
for a
general
couple
is
minutes to meet my
expected to
sister
go
before I
before
head
the
over
House
here.
Veterans Affairs Committee later this hour.
I didn't get a chance to
Testifying
write down the number of that guy.
about problems at
Remember
one
the two
VA
guys were here
facility.
up that
This is a
upcoming
federal
thing they were
agency
gonna
takes
have.
Oh,
a look
Chris
at the
Bagnell?
treatment of VA
The other
whistleblowers.
guys.
Yeah, and Mark
They're
Alkus.
also hearing
Mark.
reports of retaliation
Okay.
against whistleblowers at the Veterans Affairs Agency. John Hudak from the
I
Brookings
gotta call him
Institution
when I get back
says
out.
that isn't right.
They should be propping up whistleblowers like the ones who came forward at VA.
Well, you
and
know
not
what
trying
that
to
LFR
punish them.
chassis
And I think the White House is
I
going to
wanna-
have a very important conversation with itself about how
I
it's
know
going to
that.
handle
I'm saying.
Oh,
not
we're-
just the whistleblowers at VA, but others like them
Go down
across
there.
the
We'll
government
find out.
who can point out management and leadership problems in advance of them coming to a crisis like they did here.
On Capitol Hill, Mike Emanuel, Fox News
Good, he's
Radio.
gonna have a wet ass on the way home.
Yes, hot and dry conditions that won't help.
Deserve everything you get
Fire
tonight.
in southern Oregon's burned 20 structures, some of which were homes. Extremely dry conditions.
Tom, did you hear that?
Lightning strikes hit the area, but that's not what caused this.
When I get,
It's under investigation. They
When I
took
get
the cause
this,
of a large
watch
fire
out.
in Northern California that's damaged
damaged or destroyed twice
Nobody's
in
ever seen me
structures.
pissed.
Exhaust from an off-road vehicle. They've
Well,
arrested the
I
driver.
take it.
Fox News Radio's Jessica Rosenthal. A temporary memorial in northern New Jersey for a rookie police officer who was shot and killed Sunday.
May have to put a new crew chief in.
Memorial is taking
30
place for
seconds.
the gunman who ambushed the officer. The mayor of
Really,
Jersey
Justin
City
Bond
is
Senior?
outraged.
Huh?
Everybody out, Paul Lewin.
Yeah, right.
Hey, it's working out good for him.
Yeah, so far.
Had his left knee partially replaced last weekend at Rush University Medical Center in Chicago. The president had a partial replacement of his right knee over the Memorial Day weekend at the same facility.
Fox News Radio's Pat O'Neill. And I'm Pam Puso. Fox News Radio.
Welcome back to the Speedway Line Report, presented to you by Shaler Acura of Manchester, Connecticut.
Your car, your choice, the Auto Body Association of Connecticut.
Let me tell you, Tom Graves is struggling tonight here in our Waterbury studio. So he's down a few laps, Ricky.
And I ain't even causing nothing. I ain't saying nothing. I ain't doing a thing.
You've been quiet. You've been quiet.
And he's been dropping.
Well, we still got a ways to go in this show. Speedway Line Report Radio is presented to you by Shaler Acura of Manchester, Connecticut, and also being brought to you by Embroidery Works, Jim's Lawn Care Service, Grotto Restaurant, and your car, your choice, the Auto Body Association of Connecticut. Danko right alongside Rotundo. We just heard a few minutes ago from Mike Christopher Jr., Spencer Davis, who was scheduled to join us. No show tonight for whatever reason. So hopefully we can get him on in a future show and talk about how things are going for him and his 2014 race schedule. Don't forget our show next Monday night, Seals It. We'll sponsor the first hour of it. Skip Matzik will be here in our Waterbury studio. Mark Han, who is the president and CEO of Victory Motorsports Marketing. He also does the public relations and marketing for the USAC Dirt Midget Association. He's also a consultant to the Valente Modified Racing Series. Talk about the Valente Modified Racing Series for just a little bit, Ricky. Their next stop is Stafford Motor Speedway Friday evening.
Yes, it is.
And, of course, the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour will be at the Monadnock Speedway. Now, you're helping Timmy Salamito out in selected events. You guys not going to Stafford on Friday?
No, we're still on hold for a motor right now because the motor that he has is not up to snuff to race at the tracks that he wants to race at.
Gotcha.
So we're waiting for a motor at this point in time.
Okay, and you'll keep us tuned in on all of that.
Yep.
Okay. Our next guest is all set and ready to go from LFR Chassis. Rob Fuller now joins us. Rob, how are you tonight?
Hi, Gary. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. Let's first of all, let's kick off the conversation with the great race that you guys had this past weekend at New Hampshire Motor Speedway with Todd Zegedy driving the car. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was a great run. It was kind of like when you're playing baseball, it's kind of like hitting 4 home runs and then losing the game. But we had a great car. We went up there and tested and had a great test as well. I mean, Todd's probably one of the best in the field at that place. So he really did a good job. The car handled well. We were just a tick too tight in the race, but he said it was very drivable. Biggest thing right now we're trying to do is build a notebook. So I think we've got a pretty decent setup for Loudon. We went and tested Thompson. We've got a really fast car there, I believe. So at this stage of the game, like I said, we're just trying to build some notebooks for the customers to pass along some general setup information when they get a chassis.
Tell us a little bit about LFR Chassis. Why did you form this company, and what are your expectations?
Long story short, I mean, I've always done a lot of stuff with Toyoters up there, and a lot of my stuff was one-off, and it was kind of wearing those guys out. It's starting to get a little pricey, and it just wasn't convenient. They're not geared up to do that kind of stuff. So I just got to thinking about it, and I talked to Billy about getting involved in the asphalt side of Troyer, and I guess they decided that wouldn't be a good thing for their company. So I mean, I was honest with them when I told them what I was planning on doing with Stevie Levitt, and I mean, it just seemed to be the best fit for everybody involved, and we don't want to have 20 of the same race cars out there. So we have fixture jigs, and we're going to specialize in one-off chassis and custom work and let these guys change stuff around and help them out on the engineering side and the technical side. We hired Tony Erie Jr. He's very knowledgeable with chassis, as everybody knows. So we've got Bob Yost working there welding the chassis together, and between those three guys, with Steve Levitt included, I think we've got a pretty strong group of employees there that can run with the best of the best in the chassis business and the race car business in general.
For the listeners that are tuned in either on the AM dial or tuned in to us on SpeedwayLineReport.com or WATR.com, tell us a little bit about Steve Levitt.
Yeah, he's actually from Maine. I've got a ton of respect for that guy. There's not much he hasn't done in racing. He's working over at Turner Motorsports right now, designing and building chassis as well as what he's doing with us at LFR. I think he's probably one of the best, if not the best, fabricator in the chassis business. The stuff that comes out of our shop is second to none in quality. I've got customers that buy our chassis and they don't want to powder coat them because they look so beautiful. I mean, all of the bracketry is top notch. The design work that he implies into the chassis is just, I mean, it's phenomenal stuff. We've got guys that walk into our shop, racers that have been racing 20, 30 years, walk in our shop, and they're just in awe. We dropped off a chassis at Eddie Woodhall the other day, and he's like, man, he goes, I can't believe my eyes. This thing is just beautiful. So he's got a huge resume in racing. Like I said, there's not much the guy hasn't done. I mean, from building cup cars to building trucks to K&N cars to late models. Stevie and I go way back. I helped him develop his late model in about 1998, I think it was, in 99. We put the late model together. It was the first NASCAR late model out of his shop, and we had a lot of success with that car. We won some races. We sat on a bunch of poles, always ran strong. His biggest thing is he just doesn't have the funding. You know, he's not able to hire, 10 guys to build chassis. He's not able to, bring in the higher paid guys to put out the high quality work. It's basically Stevie Jr. and Stevie Sr., and there's only so much a father and son duo can do. So I talked to them probably October, November-ish, and Stevie Sr.'s always been talking to me about wanting to get involved and possibly do modifieds and having myself get more involved in his company, and we actually signed a deal in December to start the modifieds and start the LFR chassis and redesign the super late models and, bring in some experienced guys so that we all don't have to work so hard and start spitting out some cars. Right now we're about 31 hours to build a modified chassis complete, so that's pretty good right there.
About how many cars do you have out there right now?
Right now, there's only mine and Burt Myers that are racing. We've delivered 7 so far. We're hoping to deliver 6 in the month of July. We've got 14 on order total right now. After Loudon, obviously, we've had a lot of phone calls today. So by the end of the week, we're probably going to sell, I'm going to say, 4 to 6 more. So that'll put us right around 22 total for July.
Where is your shop located in North Carolina?
We're in Mooresville, right? We're actually out of David Stremmy's shop. This thing came together so fast. I wanted to build a shop down there, but the timing-wise just wasn't right for me to build, and the attraction and the interest that we were getting right away, we knew we needed to find something fast. So we worked a deal out with David Stremmy. Stevie Levitt moved into one section of the shop with his son. They're doing brackets right now, so they're designing and cutting all the brackets that we have on our cars. And we're in the bigger front of the shop, so we're in about 9,000 square feet right now. The facility that we're building in Massachusetts, we actually just got the green light from the town that we're building it in West Boylston. It's on 11 acres, and it's going to be about a 28,000 square foot shop. So that's going to be the mother shop right there, and the Southern guys are going to have no problem keeping the doors open between the super late models, NASCAR late models, and the Southern modified guys. We've got purchasing cars down there, so they'll be fine. And then up here, we're going to focus on the SKs, the NASCAR Touring Modified Series, the Granite State Series, some Pro Stocks and stuff like that. So should be a good deal. We'll have the Draco Springs one out of here, too, in the Massachusetts shop. So be a good deal when it's all done.
Yeah, and can people come visit the shop?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The doors are open. It's on 117 Cross Lake Park Road. It's right in Lakeside, which is the hub of basically NASCAR racing. Roush Yates Parts is right around the corner, which is convenient for us. We had that motor issue, like I was telling everybody at Caraway, and, I mean, you can bring your car right down to the chassis down, or the chassis down will actually come right to your shop. Frankie Good and his son have the portable chassis down there. I mean, it's hard to beat the amenities you got down there when you're wanting to race. But when we come up north, we're going to have the connection down there. We've got a truck going back and forth all the time, so we're delivering the chassis to the customers in the Northeast for no charge until we get the building up and running in the Northeast. So then they'll be able to just go right there in Massachusetts and get all their parts and get their clips and get their repairs done instead of going to North Carolina.
Now, Rob, where are you living right now?
We actually built a new house in Massachusetts 2 years ago. My wife and my 2 kids, we relocated when we were kind of working our way out of the racing stuff and focusing on the springs. We wanted to be somewhere where, you know, the school systems were good. We liked the change of seasons, and we're from up here. So it's nice to be around the family and friends that you grew up with. And the whole point of me coming up here was to slow down a little bit. And then Stevie was talking to me about doing this deal with the LFR stuff. And before you know it, I'm in North Carolina now more than I was when I lived there. So it's kind of crazy, but it'll all be worth it in the end.
We're talking with Rob Fuller from LFR Chassis. Phone lines are open, 203-757-1320. We're talking auto racing here tonight on Speedway Line Report Radio. And back on with Rob Fuller. Rob, you had a driving career going back in the 90s. I remember you competed over at Riverside Park Speedway. Then you moved south, and actually you worked with some teams as a crew member. And I believe at one point in your career you worked with Rusty Wallace in the Miller Lite number 2.
I did. It's a funny story. When my Uncle Jeff moved down south, you know, I was just spending every nickel I had on my race car. I was working out of Ben Dodge's shop. Bruce Delisandro was driving, and I had my car there. They were running over at Riverside Park when I could scrounge up enough money to buy right-side tires and race. So I got to realizing real quick that if I didn't have a lot of money in racing, I wasn't going to go very far. So with racing, all I really knew growing up, I mean, there was really no choice but to move down south. So I moved down there and actually worked at my Uncle Jeff's house for a while, and it was Tommy Baldwin, Steve Park, Bono, myself, and Eddie DeHunt living in a 1,200-square-foot house. So times were tight there. I lived on the dining room floor, but I ended up going to work with Steve over at DEI, and that was kind of the opportunity of a lifetime right there. So went over there and changed tires with those guys, and then I got into the shocks and ended up over at Penske racing with Rusty. I was changing tires, and I was racing my late model, and I was doing shocks and some vehicle dynamics over there at Penske. We're working on pull-down rigs, which is my attraction over there. I wanted to keep learning and keep educating myself and stay ahead of the curve with the setups and what's going on with these cars. When the rules change, you've got to stay up on that stuff. And Roger Penske was really at the top of his game as far as technology. So that was the place to be at the time. And then the opportunity came back to get back with Tony Erie Jr. over there at DEI, and you know, those guys were really good friends of mine, and when the opportunity opened up over there to go over there and work on their engineering group, doing shocks for Michael Waltrip in 2005. We ended up starting that team over there and just ended up back over there, and it was a really good fit. And then Dale Jr. pretty much announced that he was leaving to go to Hendrick, and we had the opportunity to go over there, and I just didn't think that was the right move at the time. Turned out to be probably the second best decision I made was not going over there. But long story short, I started building cup teams and nationwide cars out of my backyard shop. We had a lot of success doing that, and we had the trucks. I raced the trucks at Bristol, raced the truck at IRP, and it was just a lot of racing going on. We had the modifieds. We built another modified in 2008, and then just started building new modifieds every year. And it just kind of snowballed, to be honest with you. At one time, we had the 2 nationwide teams, the 1 cup team. We had 3 modifieds, 3 late models. We had 46 employees. It got to be too crazy, and that's when we decided to, you know, pull the plug, back it down a little bit, and focus on the kids that were getting older. And as we speak, I'm actually sitting here watching my 11-year-old son play in an all-star baseball game in Shrewsbury. So that's the most important thing right now, and you know, is watching these kids grow up and spending time with them and making sure they know that they've got my support growing up on what they want to do, and I just want to make sure I'm not going to be stuck at a racetrack my whole life, kind of like my family was. So it's all about doing the right thing for them.
Do your kids have the desire about racing?
They do not. They do not. They're really into baseball. I got my nephew Christopher a Legends car here recently, just to try to help him out. That's really what he wants to do. But my kids, we're really focused on sports. I don't. The thing I don't agree about with racing is it's kind of based on your wallet instead of your determination and your hard work. You know, my son he spends a lot of time in his batting cages and a lot of time on pitching mounds, and he spends a lot of time with personal trainers and everything, and he's really dedicated and he's working hard, and it shows. You know, we don't have to spend $1 million for him to go, you know, buy this and buy that to perform. He can work hard and he can get rewarded for his performance, which is really the struggle down there in the southern part of the racing world. You know, it's more about how much money can you bring instead of how much talent, and that's what I really like about the modified series. You know, you can, if somebody gave me $1 million, I couldn't buy a better modified. I mean, we've got the best of the best on our cars, and it shows on the racetrack. You know, you can't outspend the next guy. You know, pretty much a $30,000 modified is the top of the line. You get a spec motor these days for $26,000, $27,000, and you get a good guy calling the shots in the pits, and you're going to have success. You know, if you don't have the money to do that, you're pretty much wasting your time.
So moving forward, what are the plans for Todd in RFM in the future?
I'll be honest with you. I think he's going to stick around. I didn't really know Todd that well. You know, he drove for Phil Moran last year, and Phil's a teammate of ours now. I mean, Phil does a lot of work for me. Without Phil, I couldn't be doing what I'm doing. He maintains our cars, gets them to the racetrack. We literally just show up, and he hands us a setup sheet, and the cars go fast. So, and Todd was driving with him last year, and then when the whole thing happened with Todd and Mike Smiggs, I didn't know if it was good or if it was bad. But Todd's the kind of guy where, you know, he's a straight shooter. He's a great guy. I realized that this weekend. I spent a lot of time with him and his girlfriend this weekend. Two great people. And he's in a better place now. You know, he's got his head on straight. He's determined, you know, as am I, which is why I think we work well together. He's really comfortable with me calling the shots. I'm really comfortable with him driving my car. I think we've got the same driving styles. You know, when he drove my car for me at Thompson, I literally looked over at him. What happened was I was testing my car, and, you know, I couldn't get my guys to change the sway bar because they've never seen my sway bar set up before. I couldn't get them to change my 3-link because they've never worked with a 3-link design. You know, I ended up getting out of the car doing most of my adjustments. It was about 85 degrees out. I was sweating. I'd go out and I'd drive like an idiot because I was upset because I couldn't find anybody to do the right things. And I looked over at Todd, and I asked him, I said, "You got your fire suit with you?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "Well, go get it." He's like, "You serious?" I said, "Yeah." So he got in it. I took my fire suit off, and he felt the same exact thing I did. We ran identical lap times. And then I was making changes to the car with my knowledge in the car, my background with the car, and obviously being my design chassis, the changes went really well. He was extremely happy with the way the car drove, and kind of downhill from there. And it just makes sense. I'm more valuable outside of the car right now than I am inside of the car. You can put the best driver you got inside the car. If you don't have somebody making the right changes outside of the car, you pretty much, you're in a tough spot there. So I think we've got something that works right now. He was here all weekend with me. Went to the 1540 gala. He's very into the 1540 connection, which is great. Went to the gala last night, so I spent probably 4 days with him. He stayed at my house, and we went to dinner every night. And we had a couple really good talks. And like I said, he's really got his head on straight. He knows what he wants to do. He's honest with me about what his plans are and where he wants to go as a driver. And you know, and I think we've got the same common goals. So we put together a Thompson test. We're going to go test Thompson. We're going to run Thompson. We're going to run Bristol, and then take it from there, and probably just have him finish out the year for us.
Yeah, I know Todd, and he is definitely one of the best drivers you're going to get to R&D something, you know, to get the feedback and to go out there. He is definitely the guy to do that.
Absolutely. And what I like about him is, you know, I tell him what I think is going to happen, and he either agrees or he disagrees. And, you know, the way I am, I don't have any filters, and it's either a good thing or it's a bad thing. You know, you're never going to wonder what I'm thinking. All you got to do is ask. And Todd's kind of the same way. He's probably a little bit more politically correct than I am, which is probably a good thing. But, you know, he's always very honest with me, you know, which is great. He's not worried about hurting my feelings, nor am I with him. So I honestly think that, you know, this might sound crazy, but after the way we ran this weekend, I wouldn't be surprised if we pull off a win or two before it's all over.
Oh, I definitely agree. I mean, I was up there with my brother Brian and got to watch the race and got to watch Todd, and I had my eye on him quite a bit, and no question about it. I mean, Todd is a great driver. I've known Todd for many years. He was a 2003 NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour champion. He's got 18 career victories on the tour. And like you said, Ricky, no better guy to be hooked up with Rob Fuller and LFR chassis to get the job done.
Yeah, you tell Todd, okay, when you go out there, this is what I want you to do. He's going to go out there and do that.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's what he's going to do. This is what the car should do. Go see if it works.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened in the test. I mean, it was phenomenal. That test, to be honest with you, if I hand wrote it, it couldn't have gone any better. I mean, we honestly had probably 2/10 on, you know, 5 or 6 of the best cars on the tour, and I mean, it got to the point where at the end of the test, we were loading the car up, and Doug Kobe came up, and he's like, man, you really don't think you're going to put that thing in the box without me driving it, do you? So we let him take it out, and he came back in the garage area, and he was like, holy cow. He says, I can't believe how nice this thing drives. You know, it rotates. All 4 tires are working. You know, no more left front, just along for the ride. I mean, if we paid $200 for a tire, I'm going to use the heck out of it, you know. But the test went phenomenal. The race, the 20-lap race, that was my fault. You know, I didn't think that it was going to go quite the way it did. And in my opinion is they should have just, and not just because we were the fastest car in practice, but they should have just lined us up like they do the Cup cars off of practice speeds and said, here you go. Because, I mean, they wasted a dozen laps just trying to get the slower cars, you know, out of the way and into the back. And before you know it, you're at the halfway break. You know, and then they wasted all that time, and then they gave us 9 laps of green flag racing at the end, and, you know, we had the car just set up a little bit too free for him to be in the traffic like that. But we learned, like I said before, it's all about building a notebook. We learned from that race, and we applied the changes to the main race when it really counted, and I think it really showed. I mean, we got a little bit hot there one time, and he was running third behind Bonnie Silk and Priest, and I told him, I said, man, just check your gauges for me. You look like you're spitting a little bit of water. He's like, all right. He says, I'll just go to the lead and try to cool down, and literally pulled out a line and passed both of them. So, I mean, it was fun to watch, and it was a proud moment for me and for my family and for everybody at LFR. I had Tony Erie up there, and I had Neely, my PR girl, and, you know, like I said, I mean, I had so many people after the race just coming up to me telling me how proud I should be, and, you know, Ryan Newman grabbed me at the end of the race and, you know, commented on the car, and everybody, it was almost an out-of-body experience, because I really want to make a mark in this division, you know, before I decide to retire. And, you know, if I couldn't devote the time, you know, to drive the whole tour, you know, my schedule that I was doing, 4 or 5 races a year, you're not going to beat the guys in this division, you know, 4 or 5 times a year trying. I mean, these guys, I honestly believe, are some of the best drivers in the country. You got a lot of talent here, and the only thing you don't have in this division is opportunity. So these guys got a ton of talent. I honestly think that you could take any one of these top 10 drivers and put them in a top Cup ride or a top nationwide car, and they would definitely run top 5 or 10 without a doubt in my mind. But to have all these guys come to me and say how impressed they were with the car in our first try, that meant a lot to me, and it was cool, like I said, to watch the car go around. I was actually more nervous watching it than I am driving it, so I don't know what that means.
Well, I just want to let you know I'm heading down to North Carolina, and I'm thinking Monday I might try to stop by over at your place over there, because I do a lot with the cars up here and stuff.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, just swing by the shop. The front door is open. You'll see Johnny walking. He's probably working in the parts room right there, and those guys are probably working their fingers to the bone in the shop. I mean, we've got a lot of stuff. Like I said, we're trying to deliver 6 cars this month, and they've got to really crunch to get that done, but I think we'll be able to get it done.
Rob, how many employees at LFR?
We've got 9 right now. We're interviewing a couple more next week when I get back in town. Looking for another fabricator, and we're probably going to be looking for some help in the parts room. It's just when everything starts rolling really hard. I mean, the guys are just working. I'm telling you, they're working. I got 9 guys working the job of 20, you know, and I'm trying to get the right people in there, and it's just tough, you know. All of the good people are employed right now, you know, and when you find somebody, you got to scoop them up quick before somebody else does, and that's what we're trying to do. We're talking to a couple guys. You believe it or not, we're talking to guys that work in the Cup teams right now, and they're just sick of the runaround. They're sick of the politics. They're sick of, you know, building the cookie cutter race cars, and they want to go short track racing. And they've got an opportunity at LFR Chassis to, you know, build some incredible state of the art short track cars, get paid decent money for it, and just have fun and not have to look over their shoulder all the time about somebody wanting their job.
A couple more minutes with Rob Fuller from LFR Chassis. Rob, tell us a little bit about 1540. You said you were at the big gala event last night. Tell us about 1540.
Yeah, that's a really great cause. What they're trying to do is basically grab the people, focus on the people from the age group of 15 to 40 years old, and just try to catch cancer at an earlier stage. You know, they were rattling off some statistics last night that are pretty overwhelming. You know, there's a lot of cancers out there where if they're caught in stage 1, they've got a 97% cure rate. When they get to stage 3, they've got a 6% cure rate. And they're also focusing on, you know, do you know how to determine a cancer symptom? You know, the lumps, the bumps, the discoloration in skin, the soreness, the fatigue. So, and then they're telling you, hey, just go get it checked out. It's like a preventive maintenance system for your body. You know, they're not trying to cure anything. There's enough people out there, and there's enough foundations like that. They're basically just trying to educate people to know your body. You know, so a lot of the survivors that we get coming to the racetrack, we had Brian there this weekend. He's a testicular cancer survivor, 17 years old. You know, just in the shower and just felt something that didn't feel right, and he went to a doctor, and his doctor said, "Oh, don't worry about it. You know, there's nothing there." And he said, "Man, you're wrong." He did the right things. He knew his body and went and got a second opinion, and it turns out that he ended up having testicular cancer at 17 years old. So 7 days later, he's going through, 11 rounds of chemotherapy and having one of his testicles removed and, basically saving his life, So he was at the racetrack with his dad, and, to bring these guys in and these kids and these survivors in and show them, what NASCAR is about, it's been phenomenal. When you think you're having a bad day at the racetrack, you look over and you talk to these guys and they tell you about, how their body was burning from the chemotherapy, burning through their veins, and, 17 years old and spending your summers in a hospital, basically. It's just, you think you're having a bad day because you qualified fifth and you really wanted to sit on the pole, and, reality sets in when you talk to these kids. It's a great story. Jim Coughlin, phenomenal man. I think they raised over $700,000 last night in 4.5 hours. So it's great to be a part of that whole deal and introduce them to the folks at NASCAR, and NASCAR's kind of taken them under their wing, and they've let us shoot some video and some commercials, and they take the survivors into the start-finish tower and into the drivers' meetings and do all kinds of great things for them. So it's been another situation in my life that's been just great to be part of, and just feel fortunate to be a part of that group.
Rob, what has your uncle said, Jeff and Rick?
Jeffrey came over the shop, and it took him about 15 minutes to talk because he was looking at it and he was drooling all over the chassis. But it reminded him of the days of old. Back in the 70s and early 80s, the modifieds had 3 links. They had these flapping howl bars on the front, and they looked more like race cars. Now they focus so much on trying to get rear grip, they've forgotten about the front, and that's kind of what we're doing with the LFR chassis. We're trying to get the front grip back in these things and getting them to rotate because the horsepower is way down. They don't need to control the 700 horsepower coming off the corner. But he looked at the car and he sat in it, and we asked him if we wanted him to make engine noises for him so he'd feel at home. But he was just overwhelmed by it. He lives right around the corner from the shop, so when I'm down there, I'll shoot him a text and we'll sneak out to lunch. And I think he feels good that, the family name has been in the modified series for so long and accomplished so much. I think he's proud that I'm keeping it rolling. Ricky's hasn't been retired long enough to appreciate it, I don't think, so he still wants to drive one, but I think he wanted the ride that Todd had in the All-Star race, but we don't have 2 cars right now, so maybe next year. But I think they really like the idea, and like I said, I think they're just glad that the Fuller name is still involved in the NASCAR modifieds, and it's going to change it, if you will. So I think they're proud, to be honest with you. So.
And they should be proud, exactly, no question about it. A couple more minutes with Rob Fuller from LFR Chassis. Don't forget, we're with you every Monday night from 6 to 7:30 right here on WATR 1320 AM. We are also streaming online at WATR.com, and all shows are archived at SpeedwayLineReport.com. Speaking of your Uncle Jeff, what is he doing now?
He actually, he's got his kids. He was focusing on the kids. I mean, it's a great thing. He got all of his kids through college now, which is a phenomenal feat. All 3 of them have graduated and moved on, which is, I think, a first in our family. Have all of your siblings graduate from college and not wander off to some racetrack. But now he's settled in, and he actually opened up his own business. He's power washing. So he owns a company now that they power wash banks and they power wash the big houses on the lake and power wash driveways and stuff like that. It's enough to keep him content. He wasn't one of those guys that, was stupid with his money. When he was making money, he was, very smart with it and, didn't need the big houses and didn't need the expensive cars. It's funny, he's actually driving the same car that he got from Dale Earnhardt Chevrolet back in 1995 when he moved down there. So it's got 320,000 miles on it, but it's still running like a top. But, he's a funny guy, as everybody knows who knows him, but, like I said, it doesn't take much to keep him entertained. So he's very happy, very content, staying busy. So he's kind of just enjoying everything around him right now. I'm trying to get him to move back up here and run my parts from in Massachusetts, but I think that's going to be a hard sell. So.
Last question for you. Is there a website that folks can go to for LFR chassis?
Absolutely. We built a phenomenal website. Chris Hawker is my IT guy. We put together a website. It took us about 4 months. It's lfrchassis.com. You can go on there. You can click Build a Car. It'll walk you through every single step from building your chassis to powder coating your chassis to designing your body to bolting on your parts to even putting a motor in the car. And then at the end of it, it emails me and says, hey, this guy's looking for a quote. I mean, it's a phenomenal website. It's got all the bracketry on it. It's got our apparel. It's got all of our contact information. It's got photos of the shop. When you buy an LFR chassis, we actually give you a sign-on and a password. They installed the cameras today. So if you bought a chassis, you can go online, log in under your chassis name, like an LFR Modified Chassis 14, and we'll give you a password, and you can actually watch your chassis get assembled, and that stops the customers from calling us saying, hey, how's my chassis? How's my chassis? So all of our chassis have this little orange cone on the top of it, with the chassis number, so you can log on and just watch it get assembled all through the process. You can see, where it's at in the chassis building process and see when it's almost done and then call and make an appointment to pick it up. But, yeah, lfrchassis.com is it. We're working on it all the time, and it's going to set the standard for websites in short track racing.
I'll tell you, Rob, it sounds like you've got everything well thought out with you and everyone else involved.
Yeah. It's been, like I said, it's been something I've been thinking about doing. It's something that, I didn't want to upset anybody by doing. I just, we don't want to have 50 or 100 modifieds out there. We want to have, the top 5. We want the guys that want to change stuff around. They want to be innovative. They want to play with stuff. And those are the customers that intrigue me. I have a job with the Draco Springs, so this is just something that, I thought would be cool to do and cool to introduce to the short track world. And so far, so good.
Okay, Rob, thanks for spending some time with us on this edition of Speedway Line Report Radio. Good luck at the next couple of races with you and Todd. I believe the next one would be for you guys would be what, Bristol?
I believe it's Thompson. I think we do Thompson on Wednesday, and then we got that little short break, and we got to be headed to Bristol on Monday morning. So I could be wrong, but I believe it is the Thompson Wednesday night tour race.
Okay, yeah, that would be coming up. I got the schedule right here in front of me. That would come up Wednesday, August the 13th.
Yes.
And then, of course, Bristol would be on August the 20th. And then the next one you guys are scheduled to run would be Saturday, September 20th in New Hampshire.
Yes, that's it right there.
Okay, very good. Well, Rob, once again, thank you, and say hello to your Uncle Jeff for me, and we'll talk to you soon.
Will do. Thank you, Gary. Anytime. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Rob Fuller joining us tonight on this edition of Speedway Line Report Radio. Speedway Line Report Radio is presented to you by Shaler Acura, Manchester, Connecticut, and also being brought to you by Embroidery Works, J.M. Montesano Auto Body, Jim's Lawn Care Service, Grotto Restaurant.
And Your Car, Your Choice, the Auto Body Association of Connecticut.
Big thank you to my guests tonight, Mike Christopher Jr. and Rob Fuller. For the YouTube guy, Robert Baggett, Tom Graves, Tom Ormsby, I'm Danko Rotundo right alongside. We'll talk to you next Monday night from 6 to 7:30 right here on ATR 1320.
The preceding has been a GMD production. Don't forget to listen to Gary next Monday night for more auto racing news on the Speedway Line Report. And in case you didn't catch the entire program tonight, check the archive shows at speedwaylinereport.com.